We now know how Russiagate got started, and we know that it was all a lie started by the Hillary Clinton campaign. That the Hillary Clinton campaign realized she was in trouble because of her email scandal, which had broken in 2015 in the wake of Benghazi. We found these emails of hers that were weird, and people were like, what server was that on, and so on. And it created a problem for her all the way up to Election Day 2016. And as she got closer to Election Day, she decided to concoct two lies about Donald Trump to distract from her email scandal. She got the Steele dossier through this Fusion GPS company that her campaign paid, and she got this group CrowdStrike, which was the one responsible for the hack into that. That's the one that said that the Russians hacked the DNC email, and she created this entire storyline around the Russians doing these terrible things in tandem with Donald Trump in order to, yes, hurt Trump, but also mostly to distract from her own scandal. And we also know that Obama knew. He knew about it. He was told by his intelligence agencies in the late summer and fall of 2016 at the latest. I'll give you one example. In the documents Tulsi released, this is from an Aaron Mate post that came, oh, actually, sorry, forget it. This is actually from our interview with Aaron Mate, where he pointed out, and this was in last week, so you can go back and look at it. There was a September 12th, 2016, September 12th, intelligence community assessment where the FBI and the NSA both said they had low confidence that Russia was the one who hacked and released the DNC emails. Our intelligence did not believe Russia had hacked the DNC. He goes on to say, but that did not stop the Department of Homeland Security or the DNI from putting out a statement in October that they thought Russia was behind the hack. And Jay Johnson, who was the head of DHS, later testified that Obama approved that statement, which was a lie. He approved saying that it was Russia who hacked the DNC. We also learned from a December 7th, 2016 DNI memo declassified by Tulsi that intel assessments about intrusions into the DNC emails was based on evidence identified by CrowdStrike, which worked directly for the Clinton campaign, okay? So, and then that info was leaked to a Washington Post reporter named Ellen Nakashima. In other words, intel assessments about intrusions into the DNC emails were based on evidence identified by CrowdStrike, which worked for Clinton. So Clinton was the hand orchestrating all these big reveals about, oh, my emails or the DNC emails were hacked by Russia. Oh, Donald Trump had prostitutes peeing in front of him at a hotel room in Russia. Okay, so she did it, and she did it to distract from her own email. And Obama knew. His intel community went to him and told him, we just found out from the Dutch who are spying on the Russians that the Russians have unearthed a Hillary Clinton plan to do this whole thing, to say Trump is a Russian agent and that she's going to do it to distract from her email scandal. Obama knew. He knew, as far as I can tell, it was either September or August of 2016. He knew. Here he is in December 2016, after she's lost the election, in an interview making the rounds online, one of those things that's resurfaced, talking about these issues. Listen.
Did the Russian hack of the Democratic National Committee and other targets actually affect the results of the election, in your view?
Elections can always turn out differently. You never know which factors are going to make a difference. But I have no doubt that it had some impact. Everyone now acting surprised by the CIA assessment that this was done purposely to improve Trump's chances. And my only point was that shouldn't be treated as a blockbuster because that was the worst kept secret in this town. Everybody understood that. It was reported on. It's a pretty clear inference that people would draw and did draw, that this was helping the Trump campaign and it was hurting the Hillary campaign. My only point was we shouldn't now suddenly act as if this is a huge revelation. Every intelligence agency in the federal government arrived at a consensus that the Russians had hacked the DNC, and the information that was now being released was as a consequence of a decision by Russian intelligence and Russian officials at the highest levels. So what the CIA is now assessing, which was it was done purposefully to tilt the election in the direction of a particular candidate, shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, and in fact isn't a surprise to anybody.
Okay. Those are all lies. Everything he said was a lie. They knew, the intelligence community knew that the Russians had not hacked the DNC, and he'd been briefed. And they knew that there was no goal by the Russians to help Trump at all. That had been, at best, a low confidence assessment by somebody within the intelligence community, which only got elevated to an actual action point in an intelligence assessment thanks to President Obama. He demanded it. And now he's out there acting like, oh, well, everybody's known this. They knew that the Russians hacked the DNC, and they knew they wanted to help Trump. Everyone knew that. They knew that it was reported on. Why was it reported on? Because you had your intelligence people leak to Ellen, whatever her name is, at the Washington Post, and others at the New York Times. You sprinkled false information to these stenographers in the press who then did your bidding, so you could wind up on NPR in December acting like this has been out there, everybody knows it. Meanwhile, the truth is, as we've seen in these Tulsi documents, he knew everything he said there, Michael, was not true.
Everyone knew it because he wrote the story. So I guess that would be one true statement, everyone knew it because he's the one who concocted the lie that everyone then came to believe. But I guess the problem with this scandal is that everyone knew it. Everyone who paid any attention, who supported Trump, who didn't buy into the mainstream lies that were cooked up by people like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, everyone already kind of knew it. Yeah, Hillary cooked up this nonsense dossier. Hillary cooked up all this Russia nonsense. It did rise to the presidential level. There's no way this kind of messaging could have gotten out without presidential approval. And then he doubled down on it. And Barack Obama's a liar. And yeah, of course, Barack Obama's the guy who said you get to keep your health insurance if you like it. And then the minute that he passed his health care bill, he said, well, what, you think I was going to let you keep your health insurance? There's no way. No, not a chance. So he is an infamous liar. And the problem for the Trump administration right now is we need to remind people to care about this, even though it happened a long time ago and everyone suspected it for a long time. We now have proof. We have hard proof on all of these fronts. And it's hard. People have the attention span of a fruit fly. I guess the one way you might be able to persuade people to care about this is that constantly we hear that we need our corrupt public officials to be held accountable. We want actual accountability. We want consequences for these people. Don't let them keep getting away with it. Well, the only way that you're going to have consequences for this massive scandal that sought to upend our democracy and compromise a presidential election, all the things the left accuses us of that they were actually engaging in, the only way you're going to have consequences is if you hold these people's feet to the fire now, and don't get distracted and don't get tired and don't despair and don't just move on. Because probably if I'm a gambling man, I don't think that they're going to face serious consequences for this because I don't know that the American people have the attention span for it.
I think it's going to happen.
If we want consequences, now's the time to bring them.
I think we're going to see indictments this month. It's so hard to keep it straight. I apologize to the audience. It's just so dense. I try every show to say it in as clear terms as I can, but it's so dense that it's hard. But here, let me take one more shot, okay? This is from one of the documents that was released late last week by Tulsi. And the headline here is that John Brennan, who is head of the CIA, briefed President Obama, Joe Biden, the vice president, DNI Clapper, and FBI Chief Comey on the possibility of the Clinton plan to tie Trump to Putin. It happened on August 3rd, 2016. So the head of the CIA sat down with Barack Obama and others and said, Hillary Clinton is getting ready to say falsely that there's a Russian influence operation here that's involves Donald Trump. And his handwritten notes, Brennan's, after the meeting, read, quote, "We're getting additional insight into Russian activities that cite alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on 26 July of a proposed plan from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming Russian interference by the Russian security services." He knew. Obama knew it was coming. And then when those leaks started to come in, that, he did bad things with prostitutes in Russia and Putin has compromat on him. Or, the Russians hacked the DNC email. Instead, they didn't stop and say, this is the Hillary Clinton plan. Who's behind this information? Wait, that stuff about the prostitutes came from the Steele dossier. Who funded that? The Clinton campaign. That stuff that the DNC was allegedly hacked by the Russians, that came from a group called CrowdStrike. Who's paying them? The Clinton campaign. They didn't stop to say any of that. They buried all of that. They ignored that. They used the Steele dossier as if it were real evidence, and the CrowdStrike information as though it were real evidence, to hang this around Trump like an albatross. And then there's Obama talking about it on NPR after Hillary has lost. Like, we all knew that the Russians did this. We've known for months. It was obvious to everyone. The whole thing was so pernicious. It was such a disgusting, dirty, dangerous lie. And there will be accountability, Michael. I'm really starting to believe we're going to see indictments as soon as this month, because the statute of limitation is about to run on some of the lies that were told during Durham's investigation, which was 2020, 5-year federal perjury statute. And some of the lies were told in August of 2020. So it's on. The clock is ticking.
I hope we're going to see indictments.
Nothing more.
The reason why it's so important for the people who say, well, don't relitigate the politics of 10 years ago. Yeah, whatever. But Trump won. All's well that ends well. The reason that there has to be consequences is because if you don't punish the people for doing these extremely corrupt things, they're just going to keep doing it. And then don't complain to me when next cycle or the cycle after that, you get another version of this. In politics, you need sticks and carrots. And there are a lot of carrots for good, positive behavior, but sometimes you need to bring the stick.
Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.